Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon for all new video updates. Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of the Doval Talk, and I didn't believe that it would actually go on the fourth episode, but today we have with us two guests, not one, and they both are digital marketers. So now the good part about digital marketing is there are a lot of myths, and every Tom, Dick or Harry themselves think that they are digital marketers. So to clarify all that and what really is digital marketing, we have with us Mr. Faisal and Nick. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you, Kshitiz, for actually inviting us. It has been in the talks for a long time between us, and thanks for actually inviting us for this. And I and Nick are very excited for this episode.
Yeah, by the way, Nick is not really Nick. His name is something else. Could you please introduce yourself? What's your name?
Yeah, my official name is Anindya, and I usually go by Nick because it's easier for communication purpose. Plus, my pet name at home is Nikhil, so that translates Nick.
So great. Actually, one of the good things out here is that we three are digital marketers, but all three are specialized in different fields.
That's true.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got Faisal, who is extremely good at Facebook marketing. He's extremely good at making videos. You're also like you get like how many inquiries you made. One of the videos wherein you said that I get these many number of inquiries on LinkedIn every day.
Like 20 to 30 is an average number for me every day. So.
I mean, wow. So he gets around 20 to 30 leads without doing anything. I mean, without doing not anything, but in the sense
But
that organically,
organically,
he's getting around 20 to 30 leads on a daily basis
Right.
through LinkedIn. Alright, which are obviously much more qualified compared to any other platform because the amount of junk is comparatively less.
Yeah, the B2B marketing segment is there, so people are actually there to actually buy, purchase your services.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there we have Nick, who is an expert in e-commerce and so many more. So I think it would be best if you could tell about yourself. What are you specialized in?
I began my journey with e-commerce itself, and earlier it was in the US and Canada and all the different markets outside India. At that time, consumer behavior was not that good in India. But as the momentum shifted, now in the past 3-4 years, as we have seen the momentum shift to like being more on the digital platforms and having the purchase behavior shift from offline to online, that's how the e-commerce industry grew, and that's when I was in the forefront of it, and that's how I came into it.
Brilliant, yeah. I mean, because I think today there was a time initially when we thought that digital marketing is used mostly on e-commerce platform, but today we realize it's much more than that. Today, service, products, any government, everywhere, e-commerce is kind of like a necessity. I mean, not e-commerce. Sorry, digital marketing is very much of a necessity.
That's a correct observation, because that's where the attention is, right?
Yeah.
People, if you go to a railway station or if you go to a movie theater, anybody, whenever there is free time, people are on their mobile phones or their laptops. So that's an opportunity. That's maybe 10 seconds per person, but 10 million people multiplied by 10 seconds. That's a huge number, and that's a huge opportunity for businesses and small companies to market themselves before the right eyeballs.
And you know what? I recently just noticed about it. So I think it was a couple of years back that digital marketing on online phones has actually overtaken and surpassed the traditional means of marketing a couple of years back.
Yeah.
So the entire budget that goes into online marketing over that has already surpassed. So that just shows how much opportunity there is. And actually sometimes I myself feel that I think I entered it a little later. So like you guys being into this, you guys have done a lot of different things. And there are so many problems because every Tom, Dick or Harry today calls themselves a digital marketer. How do you think, what is the difference in how does a company know who's a fraud or who's actually a person who does it well? Like how do you differentiate that according to you?
See, as you said, like every Tom, Dick, and Harry is having an agency now. Even if they are sitting at their home, one person on his laptop, they still call themselves a digital marketer or a marketer with an agency. But there's a difference. Like you have an agency if you have automated systems in your place, and plus how that arena is different from just someone calling themselves a marketer is when their delivery comes in. The results, the ROI that people are getting. Earlier it used to be just attention, so it used to be clicks, it used to be likes, it used to be everything. If you talk about e-commerce industry, it's all about revenue. If you talk about government agencies, people who are serving in government sector, so there the attention is one factor and then influence is the other factor. So all of those things depend how you give your results to your clients, and that's where the difference comes in, where there are some established people who are delivering results and then there are every other Joe.
So Faisal, what do you think about the freelancers out there? Are they trustable? Like, should businesses believe in them, or should it only be, business centric? Organizations only they should be trusted.
The thing about digital marketing is that just to answer that, because it can be utilized by small businesses as well as large businesses. But obviously, if it's a big company like ITC or something of that sort, obviously they will not rely on a small freelancer. They have their own networks. But if it's a small business, maybe it's a bakery in your neighborhood, why not take the help of a freelancer? They can't go to such a big Ogilvy and Mehta for their help for their advertising, but they have the budget, they have their monthly expenditures on their marketing. So why not do it? If it all depends on how trustable a freelancer is. There are a lot many freelancers out there. And just to answer your previous question as well, just to connecting to that, if you talk to, if you know a little bit about your business, a little bit of the online segment, and when you talk to the freelancer, you will know what metrics that guy is talking about, right? There are a lot of people out there who do not talk about the right metrics. They say that we will give you reach, we will get you clicks. These are not the metrics that a small business is actually looking at. They're looking at much, much more, add to carts and funnels and where the person is at funnel, and most importantly, the sale and the purchase, right? So when a dormant digital marketer is talking about those things, you know that you can trust that guy. He has case studies and stuff. So yeah, freelancers can definitely be trusted, but it's difficult to find the right ones.
I mean, it's pretty much about how any business operates. You have to know about all the different segments that your business operates in, like finance, operations. And once you know those core values that are operating that those sectors, those industries, then obviously like you have to know about marketing a little to understand what sort of freelancing.
How do we know? So for example, let's say that I am an engineer, for example, and I do something entirely different. Let's say I'm into mechanical engineering, right? Let's say and how do I know that digital marketing is for me?
I am from mechanical engineering.
Oh, you are? I didn't know that. Okay, yeah. So like, how do you realize that this is for me or maybe not for me? Because maybe people take marketers as those typical MBA dudes, right?
So I did my MBA as well, but yeah. I did my mechanical engineering, then I did an MBA, and then I realized that the most important thing in the market that is lacking right now, and you would agree because you're an agency owner, that's sales. People are not able to confirm sales or get sales. Maybe they can get you leads. So that's a huge gap, right? And if you can fulfill it, and I seem to have a passion for that, for getting sales, actually getting results, and that is the reason that I landed in this industry, right? I have talked to many people regarding this on my Instagram, and people messaging me that should I get into digital marketing, and I just asked them, are you somebody who would do anything to get one purchase? Are you someone like that who is going to go from top to bottom of the Eiffel Tower to get one sale? If you are, then yeah, definitely you should try. Because
what about automated sales or something like, for example, in sales, in a salesman term, like you'll have to go out there, and a lot of people are very shy from selling. Obviously. Like the one benefit about digital marketing in that case is that like in a way, like yeah, a shy guy can sell there.
Yeah, can sell.
Right?
He needs to have that mind. He needs to have that mind. Yeah. He knows how to use the right words to get the right people onto the website. Maybe he might not be good enough to do that even I was not a very good B2B salesperson. But when I got into this, when I started realizing that I am better at this, I am better at getting a purchase, I am better at creating a funnel and getting people into the funnel, I am better at creating videos on camera and communicating that way. That was the jam.
And what do you think, like, let's say, a person who's trying to get into digital marketing but knows nothing about Google ads, Facebook ads. I mean, I always keep saying this, right, that, I'm sure you agree that, in order to do this, you need to go out there and practice it. Yep. Like how much are you just going to keep relying on online courses and everything? A lot of information is available for free, and you're going to actually go out there, start doing it yourself, and, I mean, you may be not able to master it like at the very first go, but with time, with experience, you start mastering it, right? So, but how do I know that this is my field? Like, how do I even know that?
I mean, I always say that with digitization, what has happened is like marketing is just one aspect, which is capturing people's attention towards a brand.
Yeah.
And then that attention is taken forward in form of advertising in a sales copy, where you push a person who has paid attention to your brand to buy something from you or to consume your services or goods or products, whatever it is. So a lot of psychology plays into it. And if you are a person who is interested into psychology, understanding people, what their needs are, and understanding their pain points easily, and then you know how to talk to them or what to write, where to put what, organize things, where it will affect them in the way that they want to be affected, and they should also care about the consumer. So it's not like they are just using their words that they are good at psychology and everything, and they are selling anything and everything. They should be very much conscious about what they are selling, and they should be concerned about what they're selling. So once they are good at this, they know they are capable of doing all of these activities to take a product and then make it sell. Platform is just a thing, whether it is LinkedIn, whether it is Facebook ads, whether it is paid or organic media, anything. The media buying part or the non-media buying part. I think if psychology part is there in them and they are very much like into this industry, it is for them.
I think then copy plays a major part in this, right? Because copywriting would play a very, very integral role. Apart from the fact that you know what all keywords you're using, understanding, you know, you have to go into the consumers or the client's head, that what would they be searching online, you know, where would they be present, where are they spending maximum time, and on top of that you have to think about what words initially would, like, you know, grab their attention right there.
That's a copies. When I started off in this industry in 2017, it was the time I actually got introduced to digital marketing. I still remember my mentor was sitting right there, and I approached him. He was not my mentor at that time. I just knew that this was a guy into digital, and I asked him how to get into digital marketing. What's the most important thing? And the single word answer was copywriting. That was what he said. He said, learn copywriting, then come to me.
One of the highest paying skills.
Yeah, actually, and people don't even know what
they don't talk about it, they don't know about it. It's really sad. But when I actually got into the field of doing this, from scratch, we developed copies for our clients. Even before, when I was working in this field, and when we started off in this, every single word, even changing a single the or removing an or adding one, can actually change your CTRs.
It's very, very important, and actually I'm not joking. So most of the people, whenever I talk about, you know, so a lot of people keep saying that, you know, can you make a website for me? So first of all, we're not into web development and everything, right? So but landing page is the part of marketing, so we understand, right? So they go like, it's all right, I'll give the content, but I'll put them that, you know, you have to copyright, you have to do copywriting in that. They'll go like, what is copywriting? Is it like copyright, like you to protect intellectual property? I'm like, no, hold on. You know, copywriting means like, you know, what kind of content goes there. You know, yeah, that's all right. I'll give to you that. You don't have to charge me for that. I like, it's a huge, you know, that's
a big
thing.
yeah.
And the thing is, people think that, you know, copywriting is equal to content.
You know, it's very.
I can do it.
Yeah,
business owner can do it.
I can do it. I mean, it's just writing, right? I know about my business, or do you know about my business, right? There's a difference between how you want your message to be pushed vis-a-vis how the consumer are going to portray it, and then that bridging that gap is what copywriting is.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, people are making millions just because of writing the perfect copy.
Exactly, and this was very good. I told you about the meeting I had yesterday, right? So in yesterday's meeting, the reason why he was interested in meeting me was the fact that I use copywriting a lot. He's like, you know, the word that you're using copywriting again and again on your videos, that's what actually attracted me, because people don't even know what copywriting is. And very frankly, you know, I don't think any business can do good if they don't even know what what copywriting is, and you know how important ad copies, or you know how important these copies are for them. So great, man. I mean, okay, so you know, shifting from one topic to the other, because I have to do those fillers, right? So, okay, shifting from one topic to the other, you know, like we are now in 2020, it's about to be March. So till now, it's already been like approximately 2 months. What have you seen the changing trends from 2019? What have been the trends that you've seen? I mean, you know, things keep changing on a constant basis.
Absolutely.
But still, what have been those things that you've already witnessed that, yeah, right here it is there? Because I have some pointers there. I'd love to hear some from you.
Yeah, for me, it would be, number one would be TikTok.
Yeah.
It has taken the world by storm. It already was, and
especially India.
Rural India, it's great. Not only rural, like yesterday I saw in front of my house, a girl was shooting a TikTok video. It's not even in a Connaught Place in Delhi now. It's everywhere. Yeah, so it's spreading like wildfire, and people are getting really interested, and it's getting really cluttered. Second would be, you know, I am seeing much more video marketing now. Like there was a time when video was limited, video marketing was limited. People were not putting themselves out there as much. And now from 2019 to 20, as I myself started in 2018, I've seen so many more people do it or trying to do it. right? They are attempting to do it. I get one DM every day that how to do better with videos. So people are actually getting into it. So creating more videos is something that people are getting into on digital platforms, not specifically YouTube, but these
I think
smaller
stories and TikTok has made a major impact. Even Dub Smash at a point of time to be comfortable in front of a to come in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I remember when I was
giving you a character like you're in
Yeah,
a movie.
yeah, exactly.
You have to.
And the thing is, this is something that वो अंदर से ख्वाहिश आती है, right? That I
Exactly.
want to be doing that.
I'm going to be speaking a Shah Rukh Khan dialogue. The
Yeah.
word is coming, the music is coming. I'm just.
Everybody wants to.
lip-syncing.
Everybody wants to be a star in their own life, right? So they kind of get that. They get that feel out there, and therefore they do it.
Yeah.
But I think that has also helped a lot in terms of now today video marketing is taking the internet by storm. I mean today if we have to do, I think I just showed you a landing page recently, right now, right?
Yeah.
Out of which I told you in that one landing page there are 3 videos
Yeah.
where I'm interacting and talking about how to actually what is what. Even though the content is there, but at the same time videos are important. So yeah, I mean that's another trend that you were talking about. So
We
that's
have been preaching this like
Yeah,
since
video
last
is
1 year.
important. Video just helps build much more better trust. If I am presenting a case study, like I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, so I'm presenting a case study with just a screenshot, and if I'm explaining that in video, showing my face, people know that this guy is trustable because
True,
he
very
is
true.
coming on. The reason that I know the reason that you put 3 videos on your landing page was because you can show your face. You can also post just your picture and text there, but if you are showing your face, you are somebody who is not afraid of scrutiny.
yeah.
That is very important when you get to the core of video marketing. That's very important for building
That's
trust.
actually that's a brilliant point that
That's the
Faisal
most
put, and I
important
think
thing.
yeah, that's right. That's
That,
right.
that is, I think, videos was how you approached me. You saw one of my videos, right?
yeah, on LinkedIn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So amazing. I mean that's true. Any other trend that you can think of?
This year it's cheap. Attention is still cheaper, but it is much pricier than it used to be last year,
Yeah.
a year before that. And the prices in India, if you're specifically talking about Indian market, it's still like 2017 in US. It's still much cheaper, but each year the prices are going higher. December, the holiday season closed, and paid marketing prices went up from January. So that's one thing. Plus, I think the accessibility to be a business owner right now is like it has been the bar has been brought too low. So whether it is Indian market, whether it is US market, Canada, Australia, any market you take, the bar has been brought too low. Everyone can start their own t-shirt brand. Anyone can go find a product in bulk. They can start selling it on a website, which can be built like in a span of as less as 1 day.
Yeah.
And then to market these things, they don't have the skill.
Yeah.
So there comes the gap in the market,
Yeah.
where marketing is required, and no matter how many marketers come up and no matter how many businesses evolve every single day, there will be going to be not a balance, but there will be a need of marketing every other day.
It's very true because the cost of acquiring a customer today or cost of acquiring a lead in that way, it's become substantially higher than last year. I remember in the mid of last year, I launched a YouTube ad and it cost me as little as 3 rupees per lead. And there was one Instagram ad I remember, we used to, on an average it was 5.5, 7.5 rupees per lead in the education industry, right? So in that case, it was coming out really good for me. I got around 800 leads by spending a very, very little amount. Like something like 2,000 rupees or something. I got around 800 leads, good leads. But the same campaigns today, if I'm launching, sometimes it goes up. And honestly, I mean, let's be logical. Of course, our skills are improving, right? From last year compared to this one, we are understanding the algorithm. We're going ahead with it, but I think it's also substantially increasing. Which means that today, if my cost per lead can go as much as 35 sometimes, it can go as much as 75, depending on industry to industry. I mean, currently there's a B2B client on which one of the leads was 1,200 rupees. But the thing is that the moment 1,200 per lead is resulting to something
Returns.
it's at least 70 lakh order.
Yeah.
Like the one order goes for around 70 lakhs. So 1,500 rupee per lead is not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're right. The cost per lead is going
So for
substantially.
you, like it's been 10 times already. Yeah.
Yeah, so that actually is very logical because the clutter is increasing.
What
Like
about-
the number of ad spots are very limited.
Yeah, that's true.
And the number of people joining in as advertisers are increasing every year because it has, you can say there is zero, the market is really open.
Yeah.
There is no barrier of entry. Anybody can start an ad account there.
But that's also good for us digital marketers, right?
Yeah.
Because because there is no barrier to entry. Ease of doing business is getting better thanks to the internet. New businesses coming, they need marketing.
Yeah.
So it's good for us too. So digital marketing that way is still a very, very good career. The problem is that digital marketing is too wise. like it's too vast. Sorry, why did I say wise? It's too vast, and people don't look out to specialize in one thing. They want to be, jack of all trades, master of
Exactly.
none. They're trying to do everything, have many things on the paper, but I don't think digital marketing is something that paper academics is going to.
It's not academics, but I think here the context of market comes into play. Whether it is Indian market, US market, which market are you playing in? This is the context of that. What you have to do, whether it is specializing in one service or it is the entire ecosystem you have to provide. We have been servicing markets like Canada, France, US, Australia, and then also we have been expanding, like trying to expand in Indian market because there is a gap here. But what difference we have seen is you would be pitching specialized services when you're talking about US market, Canada market, whereas that is not the case in Indian market. Here people don't care about what you're going to do. They just care about the returns, and when it comes about the talks of returns are into picture, you have to pitch them results, which is whatever the hell you want to do it with them, their business, and get them the results that they want. So now if we're talking about Indian, let's suppose e-commerce business or an apparel store or a headphone brand, they don't care if you're good at copywriting and you want to improve their website. So that's where everything comes into play. Like here you have to be the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, you are going to miss out, or then you will be losing money to hire consultants.
Yeah. So that's very true, and it does happen. I do feel that when it comes to the Indian market and when you're trying to get in new businesses, these are certain thoughts that a business has, and a lot of people also go ahead out there, they'll be pitching in front of the client that this is the breakup of what we're giving, for SEO we're doing this. And don't you think that cheapening the service that way, like when you break all these things down? Because I'll be very upfront. I mean, for my clients also, I do the same thing. So I tell them very upfront that we're going to try 10 different things, and that's the beauty of digital marketing, because
something's bound to work.
Yeah. Out of 10, one will work.
Yeah.
There may be more.
Marketing is
but,
testing.
Yeah, but one will definitely work, because we're going to get data out of one failure after the other.
Yeah.
But our job is to make sure how the burn rate is lesser, so that each trial and error does not cost you money, and it doesn't cost you a lot of time,
And it gets you closer to the...
Exactly. Okay. So this is one part of it that we have to make people understand that this is an important part. And some people really they try to break down the service. Okay, so SEO is going to cost this much, backlinking is going to cost this much, keyword analysis is going to cost this much, and we're going to. I go like, I don't understand. I have received this even till date. They don't even do, first of all, a research about the business.
Yeah.
So something that I'm doing, they're trying to sell it to me that we'll do it for you. Why would I?
Yeah.
So I feel bad sometimes that most of the businesses when they go out there before researching about the other company, like they're just trying to mass mail it, or that doesn't work. I don't feel that.
LinkedIn pay.
Huh?
That happened to your LinkedIn, man.
It happens everywhere. LinkedIn pay, it happens too much now.
Yeah.
It's getting a little annoying.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't even write the right name. They send me, hey there, Abdul. I'm not Abdul. At least naam to say. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. And
But I think it's this thing, like the breakdown of structure, it doesn't much matter to the business owner.
Yeah.
It makes up their mind, okay, this service is going to cost me this, and the next proposal that they receive is with a
that's
mindset.
very true. It doesn't really, the cost is never the issue, it's the result.
Exactly.
Everybody that I've spoken to, I mean, see, if it also depends on the kind of businessman that person is, right? If they're new, usually, that's the reason we don't deal with a lot of startups initially, because they don't have an idea. They still try to figure out.
Maybe the budget for...
they don't have the budget.
Because online marketing, unlike what most people say, is expensive.
Yeah, they will have budget for technology. They will have budget for HR also. Can you believe HR?
Yeah.
They will have budget for finance. I mean, they're not even a corporate structure yet. They'll have budget for everything. Acha, marketing budget kitna hai? We don't have. Do you have a salesperson? No, I handle it.
I do it.
I go like, how is the business going to expand? What's your revenue model? I mean, these are things
They
that
should be crunching money from every other place and then burning into it.
And
like even as we are in the you can say in the middle of expansion in all sectors, right? So even the first thing that we focused on was to get a VDP, which we have, right? So that was the first thing that we focused on, because without marketing, because we know very much that without outreach, nothing can happen, right? If your outreach is not right, your call team is not going to get any leads. If your outreach is not like, it's not there, your founders will not be able to get any calls, because that's the most important thing.
I'm going to share something with you today. What happened now? So this is quite spontaneous. I mean, just randomly it just popped my head. Today I received a call. Alright, so I just started launching a paid ad for my own agency. Alright, and I received a call today. And by the way, it's very common, by the way, to get some junk, calls or something like that. Because I agree that around 20 to 30%, it's quite common that will happen because we have no control over who are going to respond and take it in what way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, of course, with data we can keep modifying that
Can
so
qualify
that
them, yeah.
so that the junk amount of data gets lower. So I'm just gonna give a funny incident of today's junk data, and it's kind of funny, but at the same time a little bit towards the unethical side. So I got a call today, and in that call I was asked that I'm calling from Jharkhand, and I want that can you launch something called Snapdeal discount, Snapdeal lucky draw or something like that. I was like, okay, what is that? He like, just check it out once. I'm like, okay, I checked it out. I'm like, is this your website? He's like, no, I don't have a website. I'm like, okay, so then what do you want? He's like, I want you to create this website for me, and I'm going to do this. I was like, okay, fine. What do you want me to do? He's like, I want to Google ad, just like yours. Like I connected with you, I want people to connect to me. I'm like, cool, done, great. He's like, yeah, but I'll be upfront. I was like, yeah, okay, tell me about it. He's like, this is fraud. This is an actual conversation, not making it up. I mean, they can actually confirm it actually happened. Okay.
He was very upfront, like this is a fraud.
Upfront, okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, so can you like do this for me? And bhaiya aapko karna hai. I'll be upfront. This is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna collect their data, and then and I'll give them that congratulations, you won. In order to do that, you have to give a call at this number. Then I'll pick up the phone and I'll be like, oh, you've received the wrong number, and actually you have to deposit 1,000 or 2,000 rupees in my wallet, and then I'll make sure that it happens. He's like, but I'll never do anything. This is my thing. Can you believe these kind of things are happening now?
I saw that TV show, na, Jamtara,
That's what I said. No, ethical.
There's a Netflix series on this similar thing.
Yeah. This is the first. I mean, they've received emails and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, they wanted to advertise this. This is a very concerning. I mean, I make sure. I mean, just after that, I gave a call to the cyber security team and all the cyber cells across Jharkhand. I gave a call to them that take care of it. What the hell is happening? I mean, and this is also a concerning effect because when you're able to advertise the good things, there are a lot of bad things that get advertised.
Definitely.
So
Cambridge.
Yeah, Cambridge Analytica. Even yesterday, I was in the metro. I read that news that Facebook is banning all those ads which are claiming that they can cure coronavirus.
Oh.
A thing which literally does not have not an established cure. People are selling.
That's a very dangerous thing. You're basically playing with people's emotions because at that critical time. So where do we draw that line of ethical? Because a lot of people write really unethical copies, and some can write some ethical ones. And where's that line that you think that can be drawn?
It's with the marketers, like I said. Like if anyone's wanting to explore this field, there has to be the skill sets, and then there has to be a human inside you.
There are so many marketers. We were seeing that video when we were on our trip to Hyderabad. There are so many marketers that famous ones who are actually running their ads and running their programs, and they are actually in the back end the entire fraud, and they have very successful online courses, multi-million-dollar online courses, right? So it entirely depends on who you are as a person. Even in the previous era, internet marketeers, when they started off, there was a lot of fraud. Even before that, when direct copies were used, there were a lot of snake oil salesmen, right? That buy this, sir pe lagao, baal ug jayenge, nahi hoge. This will always be there because once you have an opportunity to sell and an audience to cater to,
that's going down also. I also realized because the algorithm changes, it's going down.
There is a lot of security, but also there is an access to a lot many people now. So proportion, bhale percentage kam ho raha hai, proportion is almost increasing.
I mean, you can
definitely multifold. It's going multifold.
You can promise misleading things, and then from a business owner get the money, and then deliver very less. That also has happened.
So how do you think how can that be differentiated? So for example, how do we say that if people have to trust us, we are authentic, and how does a business know? Like for that matter, that is this person authentic or that person's not? I mean, it's also a problem, right? I mean, ethical practices, unethical practices. A lot of people claim a lot of different things that we're going to we're going to skyrocket your number of followers, and we know how these things happen, right? All the bots in every system, and we've seen a lot of people go downhill because of it, and I feel really bad sometimes. We have to then lift them up, and their whole hope, their whole trust is gone. Digital marketing, the marketers are fraud. So that's of course not true. We three are there. So and there are thousands of other people, probably millions out there, and some really good ones. But because of these bad people, like the entire industry sometimes goes bad. What do you think? How can a business owner differentiate between them?
Okay, so I think businesses are evolving, the market is evolving, the marketing is evolving, and with this process, the business owners themselves have to evolve a lot. Know much more about their business. They can outsource the finance part, they can outsource the sales part, they can outsource the marketing aspect of it, but still they have to know a little about every single thing. That's why, that's how they judge. You judge a person, a service, a good after you know a little about it. And that's how they have to be smart in this fraud economy, where consumer behavior is being tackled in a wrong sense, and then every wrong aspect of it is happening.
Right? So the hack is also in the detailing of it.
Exactly.
So if the person can actually go down there and tell you that, how am I going to do this?
Yes, exactly. That's
for example, first of all, like I think one of the things that I always do is, I directly go and ask them that, what's your objective?
Yeah.
They'll be like, I want to build a brand. I'm like, okay, great. Thank you very much. How?
Break it down.
Yes.
Break it down. How? They'll be like, I want everybody to know that, this brand is present in the city. I was like, I understand that.
And how you
quantify
do
it. They get irritated.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. They do get irritated, but
Yeah.
the benefit of that is they start realizing our questions are critical. Like a person who's a fraud versus a person who's not a fraud.
That's
fraud.
Yeah.
That's
That's what I was saying.
Help them
Yeah.
understand their
Yeah.
business better.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when I talk about the right person is going to talk about the right metrics.
Exactly.
They will say, I want more reach. Now you are quantifying it.
Yeah.
How many people do you want to reach? Do you want any walk-ins? Do you want any
Perhaps.
sales? Do you or do you not? Tell me. So that is how, when the person is talking the right thing, I think it's said by Dan Locke himself that the right the entrepreneurs or the right most, the people who are going to do the right thing, they are going to ask the right questions. That's where the entire service end lies. If you're asking the right questions, you know that
It's
you
the
get
critical questions that are
Yeah.
very important. I think that's one differentiator that you can easily find. That,
Exactly.
people who are fraud will always be like, okay, I'm going to give you that result. I'm going to give you that result. This, I'm going to give you that. And then after a month or two, they just, the business owner are like heartbroken that we spent that much of money and no result. That's because that person fooled you by giving you high-end promises.
Exactly.
How is it any different from that lucky draw person?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, again, it goes back to the fact that, like you need to diagnose the problem. You need to ask those critical questions. The doctor can't just be like, Acha,
You need to be smart as a business owner. But like there are always going to be fraudsters in the market.
Yeah,
You need to be, even when you are buying a vegetable, you are a smart consumer. Maybe the first 2 times when you went to the mandi, you picked up the rotten ones, right? But in the third time, you have to be smart enough to know how to judge the right, vegetable from the wrong one. So in a similar way, you have to know, you have to go deep inside. Even if you are hiring a CA, you know what money he is managing, right? In marketing, I don't know why it's such that people just give it for a digital marketing and they, at the end of the month they come up with what's the result. You should on every day see how much money is being spent, and the marketing agencies themselves should come up. Like we always message our clients that let's get on a Zoom call because things we want to communicate to you. This is what the quarterly reports are, or the weekly thing is. This is what is happening, and that is how you know that these guys can be trusted when they are being upfront with the data.
I really enjoy working with such clients who keep asking constantly,
Exactly.
what's happening here? Why is the bounce rate going up? Why is the bounce rate going down? That inquisitiveness will define whether that entrepreneur is worth it or not.
And it keeps us on our toes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the challenge, right? That's the one thing we all enjoy a lot.
Yeah. Those people are reasonable as well. Like if it's a normal businessman who has no idea, like if they see that sales are not coming, they are going to be, oh shit, I'm taking off the money, take a retainer, goodbye. But if it's somebody who understands these things, they're going to be, okay, the bounce rate here this month was high. Now I'm not going to remove you from your service because you did your job. Now we are going to figure out why it was not working. So that mentality is very important. I very recently said in a video of mine that maybe it was a post, but it's a very important thing. The mindset of the business owner is very, very much important.
It's true.
Maybe even if they are spending like 10,000 rupees on their marketing, it's okay, hota hai. But if they are asking the right question, then they have that mindset to bear a loss initially to get the right market. That is what we are looking for as digital marketers ourselves.
That's very true. That's very true. Recently, I've been seeing a major dip in Instagram. I mean, I'm not really like, so usually Facebook ads, we knew that, they were all like almost gone. Facebook ads not performing as well as Instagram ads because, people are now, the crowd has shifted towards Instagram. People with deeper pockets have shifted to Instagram. That's a benefiting factor for Instagram. Weirdly, I don't know if you guys have started noticing it. I started noticing the cost for acquiring a lead or the cost for acquiring a customer has gone far higher on Instagram compared to Facebook. I'm getting more genuine leads now from Facebook than Instagram.
Yeah.
Is it just my experience, or what are your thoughts on that?
Depends on the market actually. If you are targeting a B2B segment, that might not perform as well on Instagram as compared to Facebook. But on Facebook, people are having a much higher demographic age-wise, right? And a much more reach. There are 2 billion people on Facebook, and as compared to Instagram, it's almost I think half of that are on Instagram, right? And much younger demographic. Now, suppose if you are doing it for a hotel or something that is vacation, something like that, that might perform better on Instagram as compared to Facebook. But it entirely depends. Facebook gives you much more reach. It gives you higher numbers. So whenever we are running an ad, we always say never turn off Facebook.
Yeah.
Because you will get reach, you will get to the right people. Maybe the same person will see you on Instagram and purchase from Instagram, but they will see you first on Facebook.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's actually an important point.
You have the reach there. You have 2 billion people plus.
Plus, their internal dynamics also keeps on changing. Like the same set of audience that used to work a month ago or 10 days ago, it's not going to work in the next couple of days. So there is this dynamic shift between platform and placements as well. So sometimes the same set of audiences, the same set of the same brand is going to perform well on Instagram. Sometimes it's good on.
It's a little frustrating nowadays. I've started getting a little frustrated because Instagram is changing its algorithm like crazy every day. I mean, you can just see the amount of change. Like, one thing, and I'll tell you one thing that I've noticed it. So recently I launched an ad and it's getting rejected time and again. You have to keep appealing it. Like, normal ads that used to work before now can't be worked because of some reason or the other. And they're making changes in their policy like really. It's too quick.
Yeah, and there are a lot of scrutiny from the Congress there, right? So they are totally under this company is entirely under scrutiny for not even if they are screwed up a lot. Right? They screwed up the data privacy thing a lot. By a long shot.
Even on the finance level.
Yeah, on every
like we have been
on the Cambridge Analytica and everything that. So obviously they are going to we have since December so many ad accounts we have seen have been blocked for God knows what reason.
And the payments are being rejected every other day.
Yeah.
Because earlier this Indian payments were not being handled by Indian Facebook centers in Bangalore and in Gurgaon, but now it has shifted to Gurgaon office and reauthorizations of cards and everything and all those financial issues are in a mess right now. So every other day you will get a notification your card is rejected, your ads are stopped. And
that is one of the major reasons that not focusing just on one platform is important. You need to be omnipresent. If you are focusing just on Facebook for your revenues, you are missing out on a huge chunk. TikTok is good for cheap traffic. Get customers, people in from TikTok. People say that TikTok people are not good enough, that's a junk traffic, which is fine. Okay. Just acquire the customer from TikTok, sell them stuff on Instagram, retarget them on Instagram. Right? They are on a more purchase. If you are running an app, if you have an app, you want app downloads, works very good on Instagram.
Do you think TikTok? Do you think that TikTok is good for getting leads, or is it just good for branding as of now?
No, it's good for leads. It depends on the creative. It entirely depends on the creative. If you are running if we were supposed to run an e-commerce thing on TikTok and I'm just showing the pictures of clothes and stuff, it's not gonna work. What I have to show is people wearing them and dancing on a branded hashtag for that brand. That's good.
I think that's one thing, right? So because I think anywhere where we have to make sure that it doesn't look like an ad. It should look like just any other post, and then it's selling.
That's okay. We invest a lot into learning for our own self, for our team, and he's into TikTok. He's on the platform. And he's contributing and enjoying the platform a lot, and he's an active user. We invest into ad courses and everything, and if he's going to see an ad on TikTok, it doesn't matter, it's TikTok. He is there. And similar, a lot of entrepreneurs are there, a lot of business owners are there. A girl who is having an apparel company is for sure on TikTok.
Yeah, that's so fashion. You'd say fashion for example would
actually any kind is
any kind.
Your even on Facebook and Instagram is not that different from TikTok, right? The creative needs to be entirely contextual. That's it. If people are there in the mood of having fun, make an ad that's funny, right? There is an app named Hago app that is a dating app, right? And they have this very funny creative. These people are getting on dates because of Hago. Why am I not getting? Use Hago, you will get a date. That's a funny creative. People, I didn't download it, but I would have. I would have. I just didn't want to. But that's the beauty of that platform or any platform.
Yeah.
You can show if it's a 15 seconds.
So it's important to know that what kind of
context.
Context is very important, and especially it's also about which platform you're using for what, and then you divide your budget accordingly on which platform it will perform better according to your hypothesis.
Exactly.
And if you have a long shot game in marketing, if you're doing it for a bigger brand, these kids who are doing TikTok videos now are going to grow up and then be above 18 and enjoy your services.
Yeah.
So Nick, you've been talking about getting clients from Canada and everything. So for a digital agency, I think the best way to start would perhaps be locally, because they can get more into the personal touch that you get when you connect with the customer. But let's say they have gotten into local business and now they've gone into pan India. How do you think a person should now, a digital agency or a freelancer, whosoever it is, how do they now go abroad and now they target some a US client, a client from Canada, UK, etc.?
So if you are talking about US and Canada market, the market is already cluttered. Like, businesses know about the services that people are providing, and they also know that there are people who are going to burn them also. So you have to have a presence, a valid trusted presence on social media. It is there, or if you're talking in terms of like mailing services, these guys are the business owners are on your mailing list, and you're constantly providing value without expecting or pitching any kind of service. So it's all about like having a proper segment of time in your hand, and then working on that time frame and timeline, and then creating a presence in the mind of this business owner. That translates into not just that business owner getting converted, but maybe they don't require your services. They're going to refer someone else, and this referral network is quite strong in US and Canada market as compared to Indian market.
What about LinkedIn? Like, can LinkedIn be leveraged for that? Like, what do you think? How would you suggest?
Just connect with the right people in US and UK market, and keep creating content.
But at the same time, I also realize that they're more responsive. So, for example, if you do connect with them, they do respond. And like sometimes in Indian markets, like people may not respond.
You have to be very sensitive towards the market you're catering to. Like, we did not start off from India. Like, independently, we were doing as freelance a long time back. I think your first market was US. Yeah, same as me. And then we started seeing this huge gap in India itself, and we saw that there's a huge opportunity in India. So we got on board here as well. So bahar ke bhi, andar ke bhi, har taraf se. But we started off from US, and there is a lot of clutter there. Definitely. Even yesterday, I have got this Facebook group where there was this discussion. You are a part of it as well, right? And there was this discussion going on that why are freelancers not going for US clients in e-commerce that much? Because the field has been cluttered a lot. US is 3 to 4 years ahead of India. So the opportunity is abundant in India. The mobile penetration is humongous thanks to Jio, and everybody is online. So there are much more active customers here. So that is the reason that we shifted our focus.
Internet economy.
Yeah, so that is why we are focusing more here, along with our focuses there as well. So to get foreign clients, you have to engender trust. Anyhow, no offense to anybody watching this, Indians are not trusted online, right? They are not. So and it's actually a matter of contention.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah. So you have to make sure that your funnel, be it on your Facebook page, be it your LinkedIn, or your Instagram, it appears to be genuine as shit, right? It looks that this guy does this each and every day, and it takes time. It takes a lot of effort. And then slowly and gradually, inquiries are gonna come from Facebook Messenger, from LinkedIn, that hey, I saw that you do this, and slowly and gradually. Like on Facebook itself, I've written that what I do in my cover photo. It's not of me sitting and enjoying in a mountain. I have written that I do Facebook ads marketing for e-commerce businesses. Right? That is what I've written on my cover photo. So you have to optimize your entire social for a business.
So whenever they do get any impression of you, or whenever they try to reach you, or they see any part of you, they can quickly get that, okay, what this person is in that one line.
I've always said that treat yourself as a business. Like if you are, suppose you see an ad for a sock or a shoe, you are definitely going to check their Instagram and their Facebook. And if they don't have an Instagram account, will you buy from them? Right? Treat yourself the same way. Maybe you're on Instagram, but your profile is hidden or private. Why would a person trust you when you don't like showing yourself anyhow?
Yeah.
You have to be under scrutiny if you want people to transact with you, right?
Yeah.
Dukaan andhere mein to chalegi nahi. That is what I always say. So show off, show up.
It's like Grant Cardone says, no? Like, he always says that people don't do business with people they know are the best, but they do business with people they know.
Yeah.
So that's why like these big companies have that biggest of the logos on their building.
I think how many times have we actually we've discussed about this, and I think I've made a lot of videos regarding this thing, that it's never a matter of price. That how much are you charging? It's a matter of trust. So I was giving an example. For example, assuming that whatever this online course is giving, this online course was from Harvard, would you pay this much? They said, bam, yes, because Harvard is a brand. Now for younger players, Harvard has been where it is because of decades.
Legacy.
It has a legacy.
Millenniums.
and
centuries.
Yes.
My bad.
and I'm not cutting this one. So but of course it can take a lot of time for younger players out there. So one of the best ways to build that brand is by getting more personal, and luckily today you can go more personal, more customized, more personalized, and stay regularly if you're following up with that person, or whenever they are online on any platform they can see you. Like for example, the good morning WhatsApp, they check it out and they check out your WhatsApp status there. So that's the same case, right? With me, for you, you go on Instagram, it's there. Instagram stories there, Instagram IGTV there, LinkedIn there, YouTube there, TikTok there, Twitter
Omni-channel,
there.
that's what I always say, omni-channel marketing.
Yeah.
One person is everywhere, but the same person. Like I remember writing a post on LinkedIn and it was being discussed in a Facebook group. Then when I wrote a comment, they were like, "You are the same Faisal who did this for the client on LinkedIn." Because that's fun.
That's
really
funny.
fun.
That's funny actually how I got my first client. My first client was through this because I was making videos. And I was making videos not to get more clients. I was making videos because I had this huge event coming in and I thought if I should make, if I make one video a day, maybe it improves my communication to go there. Weirdly, turns out that that helped.
That's the long shot game.
But I never thought of that.
Yeah. So there's this, not a famous thing, but this is something that I have written, and I have even people have questioned me about it. Getting sales online is about reverse engineering trust. That's what I say. I have posted this on Facebook. A lot of people say, "How can you reverse engineer trust? What does this mean?" I said, just read it again, think about it. It's kind of deep.
It will make sense.
Yeah, it will make sense because you have to reverse engineer trust. Even if you're selling a shoe, a T-shirt, or yourself, you have to reverse engineer why the person will purchase from you. Sure.
Yeah. What has been your experience in terms of Indian clients and their timely payments?
Totally timely. For me, for us, it has been totally timely.
Really?
Yeah. Our first client, it was difficult. The guy was from Andhra and he was.
This was a question especially asked. I mean, one of the people following me on Instagram specifically DM'd me that if you're making make an episode or talk about how he was a freelancer, that's a different thing. But they're like, we never get payments on time in India.
Contracts.
Protect yourself in that sense.
Yeah.
It'll look very much, you can say,
like
very
be a
professional.
business. Like
very
agency people are not behaving like a proper business. Like they are very timid in their services.
Yeah.
Don't be.
When we talk to a lot of businesses, they are like, advertising spend हम लोग लगा देंगे, वहाँ से धंधा आ जाएगा. That side of mentality, like we never. If you have to put in all this money, you have to pay us. Only then we are going to even start consulting. If they say that Faisal send a proposal, I say, you pay me first. I'm going to do everything.
Yeah.
Right? So that give and take you have to establish an authority that this is where I start, this is where I end, this is my job. Pay on time, we will continue. Don't pay on time, we will cut the ads.
I have a kind of a different approach here because for me, I don't go too much into the contract bit of it because very frankly, it also depends a lot on because we've generated that in order to generate that relation, not that we don't have contracts. We have contracts, but usually, for example, sometimes we even start work to give, win a bit of trust or provide some extra value that we can. I never compromise on the price. I always compromise in adding more values. That's one part of it.
It's totally circumstantial. Obviously, it depends on the person to person how you deal.
But my way of dealing.
That's your way of dealing.
My way of dealing would actually be that I 5 days or 7 days back, I'll start sending mails that this many days pending. Thank you so much.
Exactly. So
I think if you're treating yourself as a business owner, not just for servicing, you have to establish your authority in that terms as well, and that comes when payments are being talked about.
And that's one thing that I kept saying. By the way, how many times? I think in the very second episode only, I was talking about this again. The importance of putting systems into place. Like people hate that thing again and again, and
it's a work, but you have to do it.
It's just a little bit of work initially.
Exactly.
I kept saying this that how much of time we kept wasting doing a lot of things like okay, this has come, now we have to do this, now what that, what this. If you have that system in place, it gives you a lot of breathing space, lot of time, you can distribute it amongst your team, and it really helps you.
This is funny, but I have this definition which bifurcates entrepreneurs and self-employed people. If you are always self-employed, if you can put your hands off your keyboard or your work, and it's not going to work, your business is going to shut off. You're not going to make any money. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have systems, you can take a vacation off, and you have people or systems that are going to take care of the business. That's when you're an entrepreneur. And before that, it's just self.
If you're getting into smart investments.
That's an investor thing. That's an investor thing. So you have to have systems. Like for you, it's like a reminder kind of a system which works 5-7 days before that. Usually we have a contract based systems, plus also we have been working, which is going to be live, where you put cards of business owners in on your file, and they are going to get deducted that money within information 2 to 3 days prior to that.
Right.
And this all system is email based, and the deduction is going to be automatic. They don't have to worry about it.
Systems and automation have really helped me as well. So, at the point of time, I remember we used to, there was a point of time, believe it or not, I used to work 19 and a half hours in a day.
Yeah.
And today, if you talk about it, I hardly have to spend 2 to 3 hours for a particular work if I have to do, 2 to 3 hour productive time. Apart from that, then I'll be working on the other things that I have, the 3 businesses currently we're running on.
Yeah.
So, apart from the clients that we manage, and that too, now I have a certain resource who takes care of all of that. I have to just give in my 2 or 3 hours in which I know that I have to write the copies, I have to have that creative mindset. So that's where I am involved in. But the systems and automation has drastically made my life much easier. That today we can shoot this podcast. Today, I can post on 2 to 3 content every day on different social media. That really helps out. I feel that system, and it's very underrated. The system, people think that it's like a discipline. Who's going to do that? I'm going to take care of whatever is there. But I think that's
that's the scalability, and that's how you survive the market.
Yeah.
There will always be another business who is going to take Fortune 500 companies go out of that 500 placements, and as well as out of business every quarter, every other time. And if you don't have a system, you're not going to be able to scale or grow in your field.
What do you guys think that considering today now, it's about to be March 2020, what is a good, if you look at certain clients for digital marketers, what particular segment do you think is going to start booming in terms of digital marketing? They should go for these kind of clients. What are your thoughts?
I think beauty is always the field that is going to be among the top 3. But what in beauty? It's now the herbal products, the natural beauty products that are taking over.
Male products actually. I have seen a lot of male grooming products. They are booming.
Beardo, Ustra.
Yeah, just a few of them. Yeah. So that's important.
Plus also, if we consider e-commerce is. We can't put it in this sense, but if you see the numbers, majority of the e-commerce sectors that are there, like the micro industries, they are female driven. Majority of the clients are women. So if we talk about that sector, the best clients are the traditional people where the artisans are making something up, and that is being promoted, where there is a cause behind the brand, and that is creating a product that is likable by these.
I also get a feeling that real estate is a very good business now. It's a very high ticket
business. High ticket business.
You get good commissions as well, apart from the ones that
From the data that is coming in, very recently, not recently, yesterday, there was this Bloomberg report that a lot less people are buying houses now. The millennials, who is going to be the next, you can say, or even the current purchasers, and going to start buying houses, they are less likely to buy a house. They're more in the renting zone, you can say, because we have this minimalist lifestyle, right? We do not want to be attached to a certain property or a certain thing. So that is already coming in play. Obviously, that is going to increase the prices of the things that are already there, the price, the properties, right? And it's like a demand supply kind of a thing. But real estate is right now booming. Obviously, on digital also, lot of them are getting.
It's forecasted that in the next year, because it's not booming right now as such, but in the sense
that on the digital,
but in the sense that real estate is always something, properties and everything, it's always a good investment. So eventually, it's always going to come up.
Marketing has always been the dark side of
sorry, what?
Marketing has always been the place. 4 years back, I was having a VR company which was specifically niched for real estate, and since then also, we know that these canopies people put about their business, like real estate development, on the side of the road, that doesn't work. No one stops there.
I actually believe that when it comes to, why did I say real estate, is because wherever I see a lot of traditional media being used, I see a lot of opportunity in those places. Because real estate is that one unorganized market. So wherever you see unorganized sector too much, bam, that's your place.
But that much higher the barrier of entry is.
No. I mean, why do you think that is a...
If you can say about traditional media, people you can say they're investing a lot of money, right? And they're not just investing a lot of money. They are people who have had built up relationship. That is why the person is giving that much money to a person who is having a banner. So it is very difficult to get into that. But if you have good results, if you have proven results, maybe they are going to start with a lower advertising spend. But it is a good opportunity to get in. Difficult to
opportunity. That's what I was saying. Opportunity is
it takes time to get through. But
very recently, like we had a sales call with a brand owner. He's pretty big, but the amount of budget allocation is so disproportionate because of his education. He has invested around 10 to 12 CR in past 6 months on television commercials, whereas he's investing 2 CR for the next 6 months on digital platforms. But among three of us, we know where the results are going to come from, not from the television commercials. Obviously, it's for the brand.
Actually, I have a different approach. I had a discussion with a friend of mine, and we were of that, like, obviously, online promotions and everything are very important. But offline promotion, be it television or be it a banner or hoarding, that gives you authority. Because these are expensive platforms to be at. So if you have a banner, a big hoarding with your company name on it, people know you are big. So if you are trying to, clobber a market, कि पहले दिन से ही people know who I am, get on TV and get there.
But that's absolutely true. I mean, see, we always get into that. It has to be a mix. It can't just be like like it's just the digital marketing side, only online marketing. No, it has to be a mix. Depending on how much of the market share you want in your particular area, or let's say, if you're a bigger brand, how much do you want it on a bigger scale?
It's important for bigger brands to have that eyeball, because I used to be into, door-to-door sales. I have done that. So when I used to go to a dealer and I used to say that we are selling water purifiers, and they used to ask, what kind of ads are you running? They are not. Had I said we are running Facebook ads, they would not have purchased my product. They would not have given it a placement. But we said that we have got Madhuri Dixit ad and everything, and they were like, it's gonna sell. Right? So that's important. That gives a brand depth.
That's a brilliant thing, by the way, guys. That's another thing that I really enjoy about this thing, that if you look at the struggling life here itself, like if you can see that the guy was a door-to-door salesman, and how from there he shifted into digital marketing or into copywriting.
I sold 3 of my water purifiers on a Facebook ad.
I
was not getting sales that much, so I said, let me try. I put my 150 rupees 150 ad banaya, I ran it, and it was like I got 3 leads. Cool.
So that's great. I mean, technically that way, there's no barrier to entry to start digital marketing. It could be for yourself, it could be for your company. Yes. So it's, of course, it's all about also skill. How much can you do it? But it's beautiful how anybody can, if they want, if they're really passionate into it, this is the place that you have to get into. There's a lot of opportunity here.
Influencers on Instagram, they are running ads for personal, so no entry barriers there.
So okay. About the time that when we come to a part that currently you guys are running a digital marketing agency, right? What are your plans for the future? Like what do you see your agency as in the coming 10 years? I mean, it's a very job related question, I understand that, but I mean, my question is that where are you visualizing the agency to go to? And by the way, tell the name. I mean, it's a podcast, right? I mean, at least tell the name of your agency.
So by consulting we go by AM Media, and in service delivery to do done for you services we go by BrandSlane. So that's 2 businesses that we're having. Okay, so I think in future productization is the way to go. Whether it is your service or whether you already have a product, that's the future. Like having your service encapsulated into a productized form, having a website, putting packages and like different categories of it, and then advertising that, rather than doing it all manually and having your people in place for every kind of other sales services like upsell and everything. That is the future, including the customer service.
You want to make sure that whatever you're currently doing manually, like you as other people involved in your team, you're going to put that into automated systems and use that, create an algorithm so that it automatically delivers the kind of results that you guys are delivering currently.
See, the SaaS, kind of a SaaS, but a web-based service could be one solution. Taking it forward to a app-level service, it could be, because a lot of tech-based services are coming. I mean, paid media is one thing, organic is one thing, but then voice is coming, then search is coming, like voice-based searches are coming, AI is coming. You can't have it done manually, like everything, you can't go for any kind of result delivery, you can't go and manually code it. So any kind of product that is going to do the fulfilling of the services that are present right now. Plus, also you can scale it to or include all these services, the next generation services that are coming. For marketing, that's something that we aim for.
Brilliant, man. I mean, that's a good way to go towards that. What about your? Recently, you guys told me that you guys are enjoying consulting. So apart from your marketing agency, now you are really enjoying consulting companies and helping their teams into creating good marketing teams within companies. So tell me your journey about that. How has that been?
So our first consulting, like it was through LinkedIn only. I just posted randomly. Then I'm going to reply to each and every comment, and whoever wants a 15-minute free consultation, I'm going to give them. It was a very initial part of my career. So we got in contact with a certain company, and they wanted the full package. They wanted us to come, present, organize their entire online marketing in their office. And we did that, and through that a few certain more doors opened up in consulting, and we started consulting agencies regarding their clients on how to grow, how to perfectly, because these were agencies that were not able to, you can just scale upon their clients, right? We were helping them do that, still are. And just yesterday, we were on a call with another, I think South Indian based agency that wants our help in that. So yeah, we are getting more into consultation, and from a strategic standpoint, that is something that we are pursuing as well, because you can say the social media marketing or marketing agency entire model is shifting to a consulting basis, because every company is having their internal team right now, right?
Yeah.
Be it a big business or a small one, just to reduce the overheads and everything. They are having employees or single employee who is good at social media but does not know how to strategize it, and that's where our years of expertise and years of execution comes in, that we can develop the strategies for you and you can execute them at any time you want. So that's a strategic thing also that we are pursuing right now.
It's very beneficial for the company, because they don't have to outsource this entire thing. The intelligence is there, the data is there, and the team is theirs, and they can manage in however that is. But the difficult part is managing and knowing that information and execution and creating those systems. That's what you guys help in.
And by default also, like when we work with clients, you have to educate them.
Yeah.
And if you're educate them properly and make it a consulting.
Digital marketing, as per me, and I guess him also, it is a field, if you are good at it, you are not going to work for a company. So the person who is working for a company is automatically not the best one, if not, is not because this is some...
I love this. I love what you just said.
Yeah, it's not the best one. It's a logic, man.
Yeah.
If you have the ability to work for 4 companies, sitting in your bedroom, why are you going to go and sit in an office?
And if you're damn good at that job, why would you not make that money for
Exactly.
yourself?
That's the thing. So if the person is sitting in an office, as per my normal analysis, he's not the best one at it. He's maybe not the worst one, but he knows his shit. Thoda bahut. So our job as consultant is to just provide him with an overlay, a strategy for the entire month. कि ऐसे पैसा लगाओ, आ जाएगा.
इसका बहुत अच्छा micro clip बनेगा, because this one thing was amazing. All right, that's great piece of information. I think we'll end this now with one challenge each that I'm going to give both of you. All right, and that is, give me one hack. You're going to be second in line. First you, one hack that you are going to give a beginner who's just starting their digital marketing agency. How can they get customers? One quick hack.
How to get
customer, right? Just one quick practical hack.
How to get customers? Get on as many social media platforms as you can and divide your time as per that. The most important one would be LinkedIn and Facebook groups.
Okay.
Make sure that you have a profile that is worthy of acquiring a client, and that means that your profile should look professional enough that you have been in the field and you know your shit, if not an expert at it. And same goes for your LinkedIn as well. And then start outreaching. And outreaching, I do not mean DMing each and every random person, carefully prospecting each person and then sending them a message, a personalized one, that hey, I can do this. This is a case study I can replicate for your business. Even if you have not worked with a similar business, give them a case study, that this is a case study that I have found which can be beneficial to your business and I can replicate them. See the triangle? Yeah, so that's how it works, and do that as much as you can, because we all did that when we started off. And then slowly, and create content as well, so that you keep getting inbound. So there is outbound, inbound, supply and demand. So you will have to work.
Add value.
Add value.
What is your hack?
We have been setting up a lot of sales systems for ourselves rather than going ahead and doing it ourselves. So what we have come across, asking a lot of business owners and agency owners, emails work like a charm in Indian market. So we are going to divide this answer into 2 parts, like for Indian market and for outside. Indian market, emails are working like a charm. So if you, again, copywriting is the way to go, because whatever service you are providing in marketing, copywriting has to be the key point. if you are doing copywriting good, I mean, emails are easy for you. And if you can
listen to him.
if you can put emails, proper organized emails with the background research work that you've done, it's going to be just the numbers game. Out of 100, you're going to 10%
plus follow-ups,
open rates, and then follow-ups and all of those systems, but it's going to work for you.
Amazing, man. So quite spontaneous, nothing planned. I didn't tell them that I'm going to ask you this question in the end, because I thought I'm going to end that in the consulting bit, but I thought why not give a small little challenge out there. So it's a very interesting one. Thanks a lot. Guys, this is Nick, this is Faisal. I still don't know his the real name is always very confusing. It's Ananindam, Anandam.
Stop at the yeah, you were already there.
Anindya.
Yeah.
I was already there.
Yeah.
So,
Almost.
So guys, this was a great shoot. Thanks a lot for being there, Faisal. Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot,
for having
Nick.
us.
Yeah, and it was wonderful. He was very shy. That's what I was told. He even asked us that, if possible, can you give me the questions before? I said, I can't do that. I'm just not into that question bit. But thanks a lot for being here. I don't know how lengthy this was, but I'm sure there were a lot of value bombs out there. And I think thanks a lot again. I think this was a great episode. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys as an agency as well as a consulting agency grow as much as possible, and I hope that I get those kind of wishes from you guys too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
It was absolute pleasure to be here, and we wish the same for you, man.
Alright guys, do follow Faisal. He's on LinkedIn. Do follow Nick. He's also there.
Instagram, LinkedIn, both.
When are you starting, by the way? When are you starting?
Mine is like on and off phase.
मैं हूँ ना.